All right. Test.
Test.
Call it again.
Convincing idiots.
Convincing idiots.
Called it ham gravy.
I informed them that I sided with the stat man, not just anyone's opinion, the stat man Brian Fisher.
These kids today.
Jingle All the Way is in fact the best Christmas movie of all time.
I need to get Grandma a present, and my herpes is flaring up. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yo. I'm the millennial
We're
Santa.
three friends representing three different generations. That's our whole shtick. That's our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nick got to hold poop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in the sea
Caucasian.
breeze, holding a turd, just mightily. I'm just going hitting hats.
Anyway, on a lighter note,
And welcome back to Convincing Intellectuals, a podcast done weekly by myself and my good friend and peer, Brian. We are heading up this part of the podcast. I would like perhaps I'd like to talk about something, but shit, yeah, he's back.
You thought
All
you
right.
could get rid of me. You thought wrong. I am like a disease or a fungus or herpes. Brian, you know what I'm talking about. You think when you can get rid of me, I am back and I am here with the podcast. And you intellectuals, I bring it down to idiot. Thank you very
There you go.
much.
Back to Convincing Idiots, Part 3.
Mm-hmm.
Dean, you can play along since you're here. I'd like to talk about a movie, and I'd like you to see if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm sure we've
I
all
like
seen
this.
it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all seen it. Okay,
Mhm.
this is the story of a local farmer who loses his entire staff to an extremist group that has recruited him, that aims to topple those in power. Brian, have you seen this film? Are you familiar? Does that sound familiar to you?
I
Maybe
may
Brian will give you
have
another
because... Go ahead. Yeah,
No.
yeah. So, this is also explaining the same movie. Maybe not the best, but a roundabout way. Old man entices a teenage boy to leave his safe home to pursue an ancient religion.
I got one. May I?
Mhm.
You may.
Sure.
Local bar owner just wants to hear lovely pop music, but keeps getting interrupted by villainous people and scoundrels and of the likes.
Dismemberments, maybe?
Sometimes.
Any guesses out there?
Oh, Michael in the back? No? Okay. No, he had a guess in it. Well, I think if we were gonna go ahead and take a guess, Nick, I think you have the. Do you have a guess? If I were going to take a guess, I would say it would be Beethoven, but I might be wrong.
I was going to go with Jingle All the Way.
I think we were close.
Yeah.
Brian.
Beethoven the dog movie?
Yeah.
That was good. I like that movie. That was good.
Yeah,
A lot of scoundrels, though. A lot of farmers.
A lot of scoundrels.
A lot of ancient religions involved in Beethoven.
That's right.
No hot dog water.
No hot dogs.
Well, the sequel, maybe a little bit.
A lot of drool, but that kind of goes hand in hand with the old man enticing the teenage boy, so...
I'm drooling right now.
Absolutely, you are.
I think we are talking about none other than Star Wars A New Hope. All those clues
That's the one.
explaining Star Wars A New Hope badly. Yes, again, released tomorrow, May 25th, all the way back in 1977 already. So 45 years ago. It's crazy.
45 years ago yesterday for the people
tomorrow.
Listening.
Or for people listening, it'd be 2 days prior. So
Perhaps that Dean's an intellectual after all.
You're right.
That's pretty good.
Because that'd be Wednesday and we post on Thursday. So you're correct. You're exactly right. Yeah.
I know how to count to 2. Do you?
Yeah.
This
Real
dude's
fucking-
pretty fucking smart.
Look at this
after all, eh?
intellectual. This
Wow,
smarty pants.
guy
Didn't
knows
even
some
have,
fucking shit.
fucker didn't even
So-
have to take off his socks.
So do you guys remember? So how old were you? Where were you when you first saw A New Hope? What was?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask where we were when it came out. I'm like, I was backed up in my dad's balls.
Negative
not when
11
it came out.
is where I was.
Not when it came out. So when you first saw it, where do you remember your first experience watching A New Hope?
I'll answer because mine's really easy. I don't remember. Star Wars is one of those things that has just always been in my life. I don't remember which one I saw first. I don't remember
Mhm.
what order. I just remember Star Wars being just in my life. Bed sheets and figures and action figures and the movies on VHS. I don't remember not being around Star Wars. So to me, I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
My
Okay.
answer is pretty similar. I also don't
Mhm.
remember, not necessarily because it was always there, but my parents used to give me a lot of what they called medicine to go to sleep at night. So things in my childhood are a bit fuzzy. But
Sure.
yeah, no, I can. It is the same exact answer as yours. From the time that I have recollection of any, like I don't recall first laying eyes upon Star Wars or experiencing Star Wars. It was always there. My
Right.
dad grew up with it. I always grew up with, the movies were on. He had his toys that he had when he was a kid, the original Kenner figures and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Different,
about your mom's toys.
books and things. Yeah. The Darth vibrator. Yeah, that's right.
They make
Yes,
those.
that's right.
Those are
Yeah,
real
I'm
things.
sure. I
I'm not even kidding.
100% believe they do. I'm not doubting
Yep.
you. Yeah.
Look up. This is a real thing. Look up R2V2. Not even a joke.
Ooh.
Not
Nice.
even a joke. Yeah. Go ahead.
But yeah,
Good old fashioned Gamorrean guard up
yeah.
there.
It'll make you scream to the Rancor. Anyway, yeah, it was just
Snot
always
dripping out
around.
at the end.
R2V2. Where are you? Yeah, very good. Sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, fun childhood memories. It was good. It was always around. Yeah. So I don't. Same thing though as Dean. I don't recall the first experience of it, which just kind of makes me sad. But it was just always there. So, but Brian, story's a little bit different for
Not
you.
sad, though.
No, I mean it's a good thing.
I like that I don't have. I like that it's just. I've been engulfed in Star Wars from birth. Like I don't
Right.
have a beginning or end. It's
Our kids
just
will be the same
been-
way.
Right.
Because
exactly.
it's never from the time they were honestly they were too young to even understand what they were seeing. They were watching Star Wars content, movies, TV shows,
Correct.
playing with toys. I mean, we were buying them for them before they were old enough to ask for them themselves.
Right.
So they'll be the same way.
Well, I feel lucky to have experienced it firsthand back in the day. So I was a little kid. So in '77, I would have been
38.
no, I would have
No?
been 8 years old, going on 9 years old.
I was close.
And I remember all the commercials and the hype for it. I remember telling my parents I wanted to see it. And we went to some local fair, and I was always able to get a T-shirt. Get an iron-on T-shirt. That was one of my treats. I could pick out any T-shirt I want. My parents would buy it for me. And I just remember seeing it was that very cool painting. The famous Luke Skywalker with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
But it was the bluish one. It was like they had a couple versions of that. It wasn't the original poster, but it was another version of it with Darth Vader. I think it had a blue tint to it. No.
The
one
on my shirt, like where he's holding the lightsaber and
Oh
Leia's
yeah,
like
that's probably closer.
That's closer, but that's not quite it. I'll put a picture out there. But anyway, I got that iron on.
Attach it to the video so that people can see it in real time, and that also you have to do more work when you're editing.
That's fine. I'll put it in there. It's easy.
You don't do enough.
I just remember seeing that I was excited as a kid. My parents took me up to the theater to see it. It was fucking sold out. I remember the first time we tried to see it. And that was very disappointing. And then they took me to, I can't remember what the first theater I saw.
Now
them.
you know
I
how
saw
your
it-
prom date felt.
That's right. Very disappointed. Yeah, so I saw it in the theater with my parents, and then they took me to go see it on a few occasions. I remember seeing it in the drive-in with my parents a couple of times. So
Okay, quick question.
Yep.
When you went
Brian,
to
you
the
almost completed an entire sentence there.
Almost.
No. But I think actually this is a good question. When you first went to see it for the first time and it was sold out, did you guys leave, or what? Do you remember what you saw instead? Because
I don't
we
know, we went
talked
to
about
another movie.
earlier. Remember, because you had talked about that Smokey and the Bandit came out around the same
Right.
time. So I'm just
Yep.
curious of, like, do you remember going to see it? You're like, oh, okay, since that's
I think we
not
just went home.
available. Okay.
Star
I think we
Wars
just went
or
home.
fucking bust.
Yeah, we went
All
to
right.
we went to
Awesome.
Chapel Hill Mall, and it was the theater there, and it was sold out, and we just went home. That was it.
Okay.
But anyway, so I got to see it in the theater for the first time. That was so exciting, and then it started to hit. All the original toys started to come out. I used to get those every year as a kid. They had all the marketing and memorabilia started to come out. And then my third grade teacher, also ironically named Mrs. Fisher, was a huge Star Wars fan. So in her classroom, she had
Was she hot?
No, but she was very cool.
Okay.
She had posters and all kinds of. She was a huge fan. Remember, she dressed as Darth Vader for Halloween in a homemade Darth Vader costume. I thought that was the fucking coolest thing to see an adult coming in dressed as Darth Vader in
What grade
grade
were you
school. Third grade.
Okay.
Nice.
Third grade. So you figure that age as a kid, you're so impressionable, but you remember that still a lot of stuff from that age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had posters and all that, and then but then that was it. Then that came out in '77, and then you had to fucking wait 3 more years for Empire Strikes Back, and then another 3
Sure.
years before Return of the Jedi. You just had to fucking wait. So my whole childhood was growing
Waiting.
up with each movie and the anticipation, waiting to see what in the hell happened to Han Solo and all that stuff. But anyway, New Hope definitely set the tone. It was a huge impression and became an instant fan. And, just everything you saw on the screen for the first time was just phenomenal. From the initial scene of the Death Star flying, and it was like it's so long, it's a huge ship flying over the screen to.
It almost created 3D before they had that capability. You know what I mean?
Really
Like it
was.
probably, was as close as you could get to that kind of sensation, in a movie theater at that time.
Exactly. The music, the droids, when you saw Vader for the first time, everything was just it was nothing that we ever saw before. And certainly the first movie, George Lucas, wasn't expecting it to be a hit. So it is a complete movie. We've talked about this on prior episodes. Like I said, go back and listen to our very first episode. We rank all the Star Wars movies, but there's a beginning, middle, end. Closure.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't believe that 100% though.
That it was not meant to be a single movie.
Correct. I think he put a very small sliver, as he had to have, or it couldn't have gone through, to be what it was. When Vader didn't die, when he just got flung out and you don't know what happened, he clearly in that movie gets flung out into space.
Oh yeah, sure.
So he had to have gone, just in case we're throwing him out and not blowing him up.
I mean, the plot, correct me if I'm wrong, but the plot line was made before that, the film was made, right? So there were other, didn't the other, I mean, I'm sure in his head, at least,
maybe
the rest of the story was there. So you knew that, if there was more of a demand for that, maybe he didn't think it was a realistic possibility, but yeah.
I think the story did keep changing. I mean, originally, it was Starkiller was the name instead of Skywalker, and Anakin was the main person, like the main
Yeah, character was Luke,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, there was a lot of changes that happened throughout the whole thing. So it wasn't like, I mean, a lot of people like put this whole real life canon in their head about like how Star Wars, came to be, and oh, he had all 9 parts mapped out. No, he didn't. Like he had like a very rough idea, and hell, the first movie changed so much from the original draft to the what you saw on film. And then, like I said, yes, it could have been a standalone film, and it works as a standalone film. But he threw out that little spot, because George Lucas is a genius. He threw that little spot of Vader being tossed out into the space where you can bring him back, because he knew, you know, he knew like kind of like a professional wrestling when you send like when you start somebody out new, and like he's a nobody, but you're like, he has something. I don't know what it is. He had that with Vader. It's like that's the character. That's the one that brings you back.
You
So
build around, yeah.
right. So we'll toss him out into space just in case we get to make this again. Just in case. I doubt we do. If we don't, fine. He's out in space. He died in an asteroid field or whatever. You can just, do whatever headcanon you can. But if it randomly gets to be a hit, boom, we can bring him back.
Yeah, I saw trivia on IMDb that George Lucas was so convinced that it was not going to be a hit. He did not even attend the premiere of the movie. He went on to a Hawaiian vacation with his best
Steven
friends.
Spielberg.
Right, and out of that, they worked on the idea of Indiana Jones. So that when they realized Star Wars is going to be a hit, they worked on the idea for Indiana Jones, and then obviously they became 2 very successful franchises from there. But yeah, he didn't think it was going to.
May I
make it.
recommend? May I recommend? I honestly, I don't remember the name of the podcast, but there was a very cool podcast. It was like a 8-part series.
You're going to recommend something to us that you can't tell us what it is? Is that what's about to happen?
Yes, well, I didn't think it's until just now, but it's like an 8-part series, and they are telling the story of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg as best friends during that time in the mid 70s. And there's people, talking heads telling the story, but then they cut to actors doing the scene of what the people just talked about. So, for example, George and Steven sat there and talked about this scene or what that scene. Then they cut to 2 actors playing those 2 doing the dialogue. And because Jaws and Star Wars was filmed at the same time, they were on each other's sets. And it tells that whole story. It's a really cool, neat podcast. So again, you can Google it, Google whatever wording you need to, but it's it's not an actual
Google whatever wording you need to.
Right.
This is Dean's.
Jaws, Star Wars, same set, podcast, fucking
whatever. It's George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, best friend podcast. Google that. I guarantee it would come up.
Dean is our head of marketing for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. There was also a cool podcast, by the way. That was like, I think it's called 1 Minute Star Wars. So what they do is, I think every episode they break down 1
Is that anything
minute.
like 30-second Nick?
No, but it's 1 minute Star Wars. They break down literally each minute of the movie, and I think they go through the whole original trilogy at the very least. So, that actually sounds really cool. Let me write that down. See, I find your shit interesting. You guys just shit on me.
Well, Brian gave you a very pointed recommendation of what to.
The podcast I listened to was fantastic. Just because I can't remember at the moment.
It's so good, I can't remember what it's called.
You should really like suck like the biggest, like I would say like a crock pot full of like in moist liquid dicks.
Oh, moist liquid dicks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, damn, a crock pot full of moist liquid dicks. I
Mhm.
can't think of anything I'd want to get to faster. And if I'm
Right.
looking to get to something fast,
How would you get
There
there?
we go.
probably buy an electric bike.
Oh,
Now, where would I find an electric bike that could quickly get me to a crock pot of moist liquid dicks?
Hmm.
I think I would have to look no further than our friends that sponsor us on this very podcast at RPM Bike Shop.
This would not make the best transition.
If you
but-
are looking to get somewhere quickly due to or not to moisture, we'll leave that up to you. You need to contact our friends at RPM Bike Shop.
those tires are thick.
They've got thick boy tires, and let me tell you what, those electric bikes will take you anywhere in a hurry. All you have to do is get on Facebook and search for RPM Bike Shop. You can also give them a call at 330-808-7792, or you can visit their website. That is rpmbikeshop.com, just like we say, right there. There you can see pictures of their bikes and links to their social media account. There's a lot of good pictures up there of different events that they've attended and the products they can offer you and different ways that you can contact a service rep today to get on your very own electric bike to get wherever you would like to go and pursue whatever you would like to pursue in a hurry today.
You mean like
There
if
we
I want to
go.
go visit your mom?
You can get there quickly on an RPM bike from RPM Bike Shops.
Very good.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, so
I
thinking
like
of the
to think my
movie-
mom could
go ahead.
do better than a guy that just pedals over on like does it. I mean, there's no disrespect to the electric bike game, but like
Mm-hmm.
you better keep it tight for my mom, all right? You better be pedaling your ass over there.
I know
don't wanna
because I know
see-
she
it's-
does.
So thinking of some of the big scenes, and like,
Yes.
what are some of your favorite scenes in the movie that hit you like, wow?
It wasn't one that initially popped out, but the second you said it, that that Star Destroyer flying over, it's one of those. Now, I didn't think of it in the terms that you did of when it came out and the fact that like how, cinematically speaking, how visually cool that would be. And it is every time you see how big and, long it is coming over the hold, please, coming over the screen and stuff like that. But yeah, like that's a really cool scene. But also, I think for
Goddamn
me,
size queen here.
in A New Hope, I always remember as a kid, I was really entranced with like, and the when Luke comes back to the homestead there, and Owen and Beru are just like the scorched skeletons sitting out in front. I mean, I was just like, wow, like that was. I mean, I was a little kid, but I'm like, whoa, they're like, I was entranced by that. I'm like, they like scorched him. Like that was, pretty brutal. Definitely Darth Vader, the first entrance, walking through, just going right through everybody like it's nothing, cutting through him like it's fucking tissue paper, just getting to what he needs and stuff like that. And that was cool.
I think you're thinking Rogue One.
That's true. Rogue One's where he's coming through.
Yes.
And
But he
that's
just
true. The
walks
smoke
out.
clears. Yeah, you're right.
He walks out of the
through.
smoke.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's a beauty about the. I mean, I know we're talking about just A New Hope, but like that shows like what all of these movies or whatever do. It's like
It's
now
seamless.
you know what he did to get through that door in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And it brings it a whole new meaning to it,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the actual scene, I just remember that whole movie, like you said, it's well packaged. You got your beginning, your middle, your end, and it's just the adventure of it. We watched it on May 4th on Star Wars Day because it occurred to me that, as much as my kids have watched Star Wars, and especially with Oliver being younger, he's probably he's seen the worst two of the last three movies that have come out in the Skywalker saga. He's seen in the theater. He's seen them a bunch of times because they're recent, and he watches them over and over again. He's seen some of the prequels, and he's definitely seen the originals, but not recently. So we went back and watched A New Hope, and it was like, it's just it moves well. It does. There's really no lulls in action or anything or in the story. It kind of jumps from one thing to the other. And it does. It just I don't think that that's me just being a Star Wars fan or being partial. It's just it holds up really well. Like those original when our very first episode, you mentioned it, we ranked all our Star Wars movies. All of us had those top 3, I think, they were probably in the top 4,
One or
definitely
two.
5. They were, of the 3 movies, they probably all slotted into all of at least made our top 5. And that
for
tells you
sure.
all you need to know right there. But I mean, A New Hope is, yeah, it's a great movie. It's what got everybody started. I don't know anybody that picked up Star Wars at Empire Strikes Back, or you know what I mean. Like that's
Right.
where you start at, and that creates the love that keeps you coming back for more. And people who are hardcore Star Wars fans, that's what started it all.
I agree. Dean, scenes, maybe particular scenes you want to point out that jumped out at you.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, you remember, the quaint little lightsaber battle, or hell, I mean, to me, there's so many little things, and for different reasons, like the cantina scene. Not only, you get introduced to Han Solo and Chewbacca, but the idea of cutting off the dude's arm with the green stuff pouring out into the things, which in canon doesn't work, but you don't care.
That's realize Ben Kenobi's a badass.
Right. Like you don't even need to see what he just did.
Right. Yep.
And to me, as a kid, we had the Star Wars record.
Mm-hmm.
So like we could play that.
Yep.
I don't think I can go any further without YouTube stopping us, so I won't go any further. But the
yeah, because it was spot
song.
on. They would definitely know that that's what that is.
I would think
that's my ringtone right now. That's the Cantina band is my ringtone on my phone right now. Yep.
Again, I'll do a quick sidebar. If you've read or listened to the audiobook of From a Certain Point of View, they've done one for all 3 movies. And they do one of the stories is about that Cantina band. It's really good. Okay. So I recommend that. But yeah,
is it like a behind the music on the Cantina band?
A little bit, like because what that book is about is it takes A New Hope and gives all the like background characters stories of like how they got there to what you're seeing in the movie. So, and that story is about like how that Cantina band, they were fighting earlier in the day, and like it gets to them being in the cantina, and then they explain how this old wizard came in and cut this guy's arm off, and so it's from their point of view.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really cool book. All 3 of them are. They do one for each of the first 3 of the trilogy. But yeah, for me, the cantina scene is my iconic scene.
Okay. Well, like I said, for me, it's certainly the Star Destroyer flying. There's so many. The first time you see the droids, it's like wow. The bright gold and the blue of R2-D2, and they come across and they're shooting. During the firefight, and the lasers are going. They're just narrowly missing them. God, just so many. And even now when I see it, the scene at the end of the movie where Luke's flying, you know exactly what's going to happen. He's flying down the trench.
Right.
Vader's following him. The thing, it's in that, he's trying to get his sights on the X-wing, and it's going back and forth in the target. And finally, I have you now. And then the TIE fighter blows up next to Vader, and then the scene of the Millennium Falcon coming down with but
you say that, Brian. You say what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know what was going to happen. As a kid, did you know that you assume Luke was going to hit the shot, but did you think that the Millennium Falcon was going to save the day? With him?
No, I remember as a kid that was a complete surprise.
Right.
And how they shot that was brilliant because, like I said, it was coming down at you, and they had that circle of light purposely behind it to where it's like the savior Han Solo, who would just a
Right.
few minutes ago was a scoundrel, and that's what it looked like he was going to do, is take the money and run. And
Yep.
you see actually all three of the human characters had tremendous growth in the movie with Leia, Luke, and Han. From the very beginning of the movie, they all had growth and arcs in the movie to the very end, where they all became heroes, literally, right? But
What? No, first
Anyway.
of all, fuck you. All the human
What?
characters. Chewbacca was just
of course, well,
as
yeah,
much
sure.
of a hero, and he had just as much growth and potential as the rest of them. How dare you, sir?
He was always good. I mean, Chewbacca was always good from the moment you saw him. The human characters had to learn a couple things, but he was always the loyal and protective friend.
Because he was the smartest.
Yeah, that's probably
I mean,
right.
when you're that old, I guess you
And
have
he's
to
a
be.
space dog, so he's loyal by nature.
Yeah.
Not in here, mister.
You know what? We were talking about and I'm like, I don't remember the first time I saw New Hope, but somehow I remember the scene where Ben's looking through the binoculars and he's looking at the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders there. Or is it Luke that's looking? Yeah, it's Luke that's looking through the.
Luke.
Yeah. And he sees the Tusken Raiders down there, and
the one stands up.
and then you hear that. I remember jumping when you I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I remember the first time that scene happened. I was like, oh shit! But yeah, it's very weird.
Same scene. I don't. Well, actually, I do remember not understanding for the longest time what that noise was that supposedly Ben may have made to scare the Tuscans off until Boba Fett. When you realize that's the that's the sound of the Krayt Dragon, and that's what Ben was mimicking to scare them off because of how scared they naturally are of the Krayt Dragon on that planet.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
How long do you think? See, that's the thing that's a perfect example, and I don't want to go too much into it because it's not A New Hope centric, but we've already talked about
Sure.
the benefits of having fans make these things. That they thought of that they were like, hey, let's tie this in. You know what I mean? That's
because
not something
as
that
a
somebody
kid,
was
I
going
didn't understand
what is that?
I didn't understand. I'm like, why does that scare
and nobody
these guys
did
from going
because
away?
it wasn't thought of at the time when they made that movie. They were like, let's make it make a weird call that startles them and they run away.
But
and then they went back and were like, let's make this fucking thing that that's its call. And now they're gonna they're gonna know that and they're gonna be afraid.
Retconning. There's a lot of silence here, guys.
It's what?
Is that a person or is that a term?
No, retconning. Where you go back.
Retconning, is that a man?
No, where you go back and fix plot holes by telling another story.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Brian doesn't sound like he believes that.
I can't fucking argue. It's a goddamn thing. It's the word. I
go ahead and Google that term along with the Make Believe podcast that Dean would like to recommend that you go Google and find. You'll just magically find your way there.
No, but you talk about plot holes, and since it was the first movie, I mean, obviously they set things up for the future, or they go back and refer to things. But to me, that's another nice thing about this movie as well, is they're just explaining the story for the first time. So I can't think of a ton of plot holes to where they just mention something happened, like, Luke mentions in passing, oh, you fought in the Clone Wars. And Ben was like, oh, yeah. Obviously, that scene was a little weird because, Lucas here was smart, too, because when he asked about his father, purposely, Ben rocked and he had to think for a second. You could tell he was thinking up something to say quickly.
Yeah.
And where he had to lie about Vader not being his father. And I don't know. It just goes back to it's just a complete movie from start to finish. They just
the only thing that's annoying to me comparative to what we've come in the other movies, your father was a cunning pilot. That's what he focused Anakin's work and credentials on, was a pilot.
Well, and at the end of the movie, he's chasing down, as a great pilot, he's chasing down his own son in the trench and almost killed him.
Okay. All
If
right.
not for Han Solo. So, but
Touche.
yeah. I was looking back, the reason I kept looking down, I'm looking at the all the awards of all the Star Wars movies according to Wikipedia. I do hope it's the only one that I can see that was up for at the
Best
time
Picture.
best picture. It was nominated. The best director, best. It was the only one that had any actor nominee. You probably can guess who was nominated as a best supporting actor in this movie.
Alec Guinness.
Yep. Best original screenplay nominated, and it won best art direction, best costume design, best film editing, best original score. John Williams, tremendous.
Sure.
Best sound, best visual effects, and they get a special achievement honor award for the alien creature and robot voices. So, of all the Star Wars movies to this day, it has the most Academy Awards. That's it. The other ones were nominated for, music and visuals and stuff like that, but it's the only one that had any type of acting and directing and original screenplay that I could see here, at least anyway, according to Wikipedia, which not a surprise.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Since we've gone through all of this, now let's get our opinions, and I'm sure we've done it in previous episodes, but since this is the next Star Wars episode, what are your opinions on the changes that were made?
Like the special edition stuff?
Right, and the continuous changes as they put it on them, different Blu-rays and whatnot. And then also within that, do you think he should, because, well, I'm not going to preface it. I want your opinions, but also the focus the scene of did Han shoot first? Brian?
That scene there is one of the most infuriating changes that he made. It was insane. I mean, what made that scene so cool originally was, Greedo was threatening Han, and he fucking shot him. You knew what was going to happen. Greedo had a gun on him. He's clearly going to shoot him. He was, stating, it was all but saying he was going to shoot him.
Right.
And Han just blew him away under the table to even as a kid, you got the fact that he's saving his life, and
right.
Han Solo's a fucking badass.
His life was in danger.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't fucking around. That was so cool. When they did the whole, it looked herky-jerky. It was not well done. And then he even added, I don't know if you even caught this, on the Disney Plus version, there's yet even another change that he put in there. Did you know that?
I did not.
No.
So that's the newest version where Greedo says something odd. He says some type of before he shoots, he says something he didn't say before, like it's some type of alien, yell or something weird.
Almost like it's something that sets Han off to do it, shoot or
something like something like that, like as if something's going to happen, and then it has that stupid, where it looks like
I'm gonna shoot you.
God. All the other changes are tolerable. I mean, there's some things that are pretty cool, like the extra Mos Eisley stuff, unnecessary.
Like
too much.
The big lizard thing that they're writing.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Not needed. What was cool was like when you saw things like the Millennium Falcon flying out of of Mos Eisley.
Sure.
When the X-wings are flying to the Death Star, there's a couple scenes where you have the squadron flying past the planet. Just a couple subtle things like that. That's fine. But when you change when you're adding in the scene with Jabba the Hutt with Han, it was a human, and they kind of put that in there.
But the idea is like that was that was going to be in the original movie, though.
I know, but it was a human playing Jabba the Hutt, and they couldn't do it, so they had to put the the blob over the human figure,
And then that
Boba
was
Fett was there,
stupid
and that
because
was
he didn't
kinda
even look
neat,
the
but-
same. Like,
It looked
Yeah.
bad, right? But
Yeah,
if
it just I don't know.
they could have
and you
done it
never see
better,
Jabba like move on his own. It's weird.
Yeah,
well, in the first one, in a Phantom Menace, you do. He comes.
yeah, you see him there. In
Oh,
the,
Yeah,
in
he
the
well,
race,
moves
sure,
up
in the
okay.
into
race.
the to watch the pod
But at
race.
that time, you would
Yeah.
not, because when they re-released, that was never. I mean, yeah.
But if they would have been able, if it looks better, like if they redid it to where it looks like they could put like Jabba. I mean, shit, what they did in the Mandalorian or Boba Fett,
Yeah,
the two
right.
cousins. If they could go back and fix that, would you be okay with that scene? Or is it just the fact that that scene's in there?
It's. I did like. I did like the fact that he would. I did like to see Jabba introduced. It definitely gave you more of the backstory than just the
Sure.
mention. So it was cool in that respect. So if to answer your question, if they could do it the right way and it looks better, yeah, it definitely would be
Okay.
a little bit better. I did like the introduction of Jabba. Like I said, the Greedo scene that makes me the angriest. So that's where I want to see the keep the
Sure.
original scene. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nick, Brian fucking talked forever. Your turn.
Yeah, I actually kind of forgot about that scene because I was like, in that movie, the only things I could think of were like just enhancements to different scenes of ships moving around and stuff like that. It was cool. I mean, the reason they did all of that was to they advertised it as it was the movie that he envisioned but he couldn't make at the time because the effects weren't quite there, right? So, but there were a lot of extra bells and whistles thrown into those movies that were completely unnecessary, like you said. And looking back, they just look out of place. I think that's the thing that bothers me the most.
Right.
If it's a scene, in space with the ships or different things moving around, like that fits more. But when you get the sand troopers on those, I don't know what they're called, the big lizard things, we'll call them iguanas. It's weird. It doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. Like it doesn't fit the tone of the rest of it.
They could have dirtied up that film.
I guess, yeah, it was too clean
Like,
and yeah, it looked fake. It is fake, but it's noticeable, and that goes to show you that that's where technology was at that point versus where we are now, to where now it's seamless and you
Right.
really can't tell. But definitely, yeah, the Java scene, you pose an interesting question when you say, would you be okay with it if they could, if it looked better, they did something different with it, maybe. But yeah, I don't like that scene. I don't like that he's just walking along. He's just slithering alongside Han, and they're having this conversation.
If you look closely, at a certain point, Han Solo's foot passes through his tail.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it had to make him like step up because Han just
Right,
walks
but
around the human.
Right, but it
Yeah.
didn't when they released it. It didn't quite do that. So like if you watch and you slow it down, the back of his foot goes through his
Yeah.
tail.
And it's like a herky jerky up and up. I don't know.
Yeah. I could do it. Like I said before, what I would like to wait for is when they release all 9 movies and the middle 3 are in original cinematic form, which I'm told that they won't do.
I have them.
They won't.
Wait a minute.
No.
So
He's talking about re-releasing it.
I'm talking
and releasing the original
4, 5, and 6 in original cinematic form.
George Lucas won't do it because those, like Brian said, his original idea and vision is what the re-release was.
no, wait a minute. I'm trying to tell you. So I have they came out with a special edition individual DVDs. If you by I think must be 15 plus years ago, 2005, 2006, right? I have to see what I. But anyways, so there's 2 DVDs per box. One was the special edition at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is original trilogy now. Okay.
Yep.
The other DVD in the same container was the original theatrical release. So
Nice.
it's the original movie, no special edition stuff.
Not cleaned up either. Like color cleaned or anything.
I don't know that, but there's no no ads. So it's no additional stuff. So it's the original Han shooting. It's the original Emperor in Empire Strikes Back and the hologram.
The monkey girl.
All that stuff. Yeah. At the end is the original Anakin ghost.
See,
All the stuff he
Nice.
changed.
I just want to watch it just so I don't have to see the singing and dancing scene from Return of the Jedi.
That's not in
Nothing
there.
pisses me off more than that
That's
scene.
the whole
Yeah.
reason I want that the original version.
Just so
So
that
I have.
It's my
the
favorite
lips,
movie, and it pisses me off.
I
So if
hate
you
it.
guys want to,
I have a
let's do
visceral
it.
reaction when I watch that.
Let's have some viewings, and we'll go back and watch the original ones. As we have time, that'll be a
right.
lot of fun. So okay,
So much better.
all right. All right, what else? I mean, we've
As long as we can
know
do the
this-
holiday special with it.
Of course.
Bring the tissues.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing
So
where
I can come in them.
at the time it was $11 million investment in 1977, which a couple of years ago, again, this was in 2017 rather, this particular article, when it was 40 years ago. But this guy equated that would have been around 45 million at the time. So, to invest that type of money and what it made is one of the biggest profitable movies, if not the most of all time, as far as the little they invested into it and what they've made back, which makes a lot of sense. So, when you adjust for inflation and as far as the original tickets, when they figure there's so many ways people crunch numbers, people went back to see it several times. I think the movie ticket price was $2 and something back then, where now it's like $9. So when they you do all the inflation conversions and all that, it's still one of the top grossing movies of all time, basically, which not surprising. So
No.
Yep.
So we could talk about this all night long, guys. I know. Go ahead.
Real quick about that, about the box office. To think about it, before 1977, because that's when Smokey the Bandit, Star Wars, Jaws all came out.
Yep.
The term blockbuster wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It was created for that summer when lines of people literally wrapped around the block.
Yep.
It's crazy to think of. I mean, 77 really isn't that that far ago.
And in that time, an entire franchise renting videos was made, conquered, and deceased in that time.
Right.
Yeah, you
It's
think
just
about
crazy.
that. It was, yeah.
Just to
When it first came out. Go ahead.
No, just to see the transformation of movies in general from 77 to now. It just, I mean, there's so many dips. I mean, actually now isn't a good example. Like we could probably stop at 2000, but just, the rise of it and the peaks. I mean, if you get after 2000, there's valleys and you get into like streaming and all that, but I'm just talking about cinema in general, what that summer did to movies going forward is insane.
Sure. Yeah, there weren't. I mean, as a kid, I'm sure even to this day, it's still the movie I've seen in a theater or drive-in the most, because that was how you had to see it. I mean, there was no other way. You figure they didn't release it on VHS or Laserdisc or anything until was 10 plus years, was it 10 years or so after, something like that. So
yeah.
All right, I know it's getting late here, guys. So just just in that particular movie, who was your favorite character? Focusing strictly on A New Hope. Let's end on that topic. Who was your favorite character in the movie?
Nick?
Easily Darth Vader.
Oh no, I was saying Nick, but yeah, your opinion, Nick.
Yes, easily Darth Vader. As a child, and that's the character that you're drawn to, and he's the cool bad guy, and he's, especially at that time, very mysterious. You didn't know as much about his backstory or anything like that, so it was just Darth Vader. definitely. Luke was a great hero, but Darth Vader was so fucking cool. So yeah.
All right.
Dean?
I have two answers, like Nick. You see it differently when you were a kid to now. As a kid, it was Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I was always a fan of. You don't know what he's saying, but you know what he's saying. I mean, to portray and to get that performance out of a costume amongst all these actors that aren't telling you precisely what he's saying, and there's no subtitles. I loved it. And now, as an adult, I go back and watching it. Peter Cushing was fucking phenomenal.
He was good, yeah.
He played like you watch it as a kid. He's a passing character, but as an adult, Peter Cushing. I mean, he's probably the best actor. Him and Alec Guinness are the best actors, in the movie, right? I mean, actors wise.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you look at his nuanced performance, as an adult, Peter Cushing is my favorite.
So for me and everybody listening that doesn't know who Peter Cushing is, what character is that?
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Okay, that's what I was guessing based off of the
I'm sorry.
actors. I'm like, you never said the character's name, and I'm like, I don't know.
I apologize.
Okay, that's what I was thinking based on the acting. You sound like, as far as actors and performances,
okay.
I'm like, I was guessing it was probably Grand Moff Tarkin, but okay.
And fun little trivia thing is throughout all of the whole movie, his boots didn't fit. So they filmed him from here up or waist up because he chose to wear house slippers through the whole movie because his boots wouldn't fit and they hurt his feet. So that's why you never see a wide shot of Grand Moff Tarkin.
Interesting. My figure of Grand Moff Tarkin has boots.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, it's incorrect.
That's right.
Where's his fucking slippers at? What about you, Brian?
All things considered, Vader was certainly a huge presence on the screen. I definitely, my very first action figure was Darth Vader. I had a Darth Vader necklace as a kid. I had Star Wars necklaces. Sure. The second necklace I got, by the way, Dean, was a Chewbacca necklace because I love Chewbacca as well.
Of course.
Posters. But honestly, probably my favorite character overall, all things considered, was Han Solo in that movie because he was such a...
Makes sense.
There's
no wrong answer.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. He was cool the second you saw him. One of my Christmas gifts I got early on was the Star Wars blaster. It was the Han Solo blaster toy.
Yeah.
You put batteries into it, and then you pushed a button and pulled the trigger, and it made the
it makes
blaster
a buzz,
sound.
like a bzz, yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like the yeah. That was my favorite.
It's in my closet upstairs.
You press the button, it's just Harrison Ford going, "Fuck George Lucas, fuck George Lucas."
I like that. Yeah, that was one of the random noises you would get.
Right.
As I thought that was pretty sweet. No, but he's just cool. He was a cool, impressionable character. He was a bad guy, but but he became a hero at the end, and that's it. So I remember as a kid. Me and one of my buddies, we used to pretend that we were the sons. Like he was the son of Luke Skywalker, and I was the son of Han Solo. That was our little fantasy Star Wars stuff. Yes, a Brian Solo. That's what it was.
Okay,
and he was Scott.
All right.
And he was Scott Skywalker. Bless his heart. Yep.
Were you friends with my dad?
Yes.
Yeah. No, this was.
That's my dad's name. That sounds like some shit you do.
This was my buddy Scott Wilson, and Scott to this day is now a high school teacher at Cuyahoga Falls High School, and I understand in his classroom to this day he still has a shelf full of Star Wars stuff. Right now, probably could be some of the same toys that we might have had as boys playing together. All those. He also got me into Kiss, by the way. Nick, he's the guy who got me into Kiss as a young boy. So,
still not convinced it's not my dad, but based off of that, but okay.
Scott Wilson. Yep.
So Scott Wilson was your first kiss?
My first friend that got me into the band Kiss was Scott Wilson. So
I'm sorry. I
he
misunderstood.
he definitely shared my interest of Star Wars and Kiss. I'll never forget that. So you know, a lot
And
of
boy
fun
lips.
times together. Well, let's just say we had some lightsaber fights. Let's just say that. That's all. We'll leave it there. All right, so we could talk about New Hope for forever here. So anyway, definitely one of our favorite movies of all time. I think it's fair to say definitely one of our favorite Star Wars movies. Ranking them, it's definitely amongst the top, if not the top. I know it's still in my top, probably 2, frankly.
And if you want to hear what our top rankings are, go to our very first episode.
All the way back.
All the way back to the archives. Listen to our first episode to hear our rankings.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so Nick, why don't we? In this celebration of A New Hope, why don't you pick the character? Pick a character for Star Wars, A New Hope, to take us out.
Oh, interesting.
Impersonating.
Interesting. Okay.
You should feel
Anyone
lucky
you want.
because I was going to give you a specific one. So
were you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from A New
I was
Hope,
going to go with
let's see.
Greedo.
Okay. Greedo in
Nope.
This is
Nope, not in English. I wanted his native language.
all right. If you can tell me what his native if you can tell me what his native language is, I'll do it in Greedo.
It's Rodian.
Motherfucker.
Is that what it is?
Okay, so here we
He's
go.
he's a Rodian, so it would have been Rodian would be the language.
Wow.
I'm a man of my word, so here we go in Greedo Rodian. But in English.
Sure.
You want to go and find convincing... He's just Russian now, I guess is what's happening. You want to go and find convincing... This is Greedo from Star Wars A New Hope. You know me from my one scene when I am in the canteen bar. I am having little drink. I go find my bounty. That is what I am famous for. Very brief, very impressionable. Here I tell you in Rodian, my native language. I suggest you go and find convincing idiots.
He sounds like Yakov Smirnov.
Take my wife, I command you.
You'll simply tell the scoundrel you're in search of to go to Google and put in convincing idiots. Link 3. LINKTREE. There you will find all of the places you can listen to podcast, whether it be in Rodian, like I am speaking right now, or in English, or wherever.
Moose and squirrel.
Or you can go to Convincing Idiots website, free of charge. Borat now.
Borat.
There's a lot of peaks and valleys here.
.wordpress.com. And today we thank you for your time. We wish you a cheers from our cantina to yours, Solo. For this episode of Convincing Idiots, I am clearly a Rodian by my accent. I am a millennial. My name is Nicolaus.
I am the Zennial Dean.
And I am Brian Gen X.
Have we convinced you that the remakes with all the added features are unnecessary and that Rodian is basically Russian? Yep. Hey there, if you like that video or if you just like to watch us make fools of ourselves, please like and subscribe to this channel. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you back here.